My sister married my ex, so I became her stepmom. Chapter 1: The day she stole my future. It was a beautiful morning, bright, warm, and full of hope. I woke up smiling, thinking about Ryan, the man I loved more than anyone in the world. We had been together for 3 years, shared everything, and talked about our future every single night. I thought I knew him. I thought he was mine forever. That day, I bought 2 tickets to Paris, our dream trip. I couldn't wait to see his smile when I surprised him. I came home early, carrying the tickets in my hand, heart beating fast with excitement. But what I found inside that house destroyed every dream I ever had. The moment I opened the door, something felt strange. I heard laughter, not from the TV, but from the bedroom. My heart stopped. I stepped closer, and then I heard her voice. Bella, my younger sister. She was laughing, whispering, saying his name. I pushed the door open with trembling hands, and there they were, Ryan and Bella, in my bed. Her hair on his shoulder, their clothes on the floor. My whole world collapsed in that second. I dropped the tickets, my legs shaking, my heart racing. Ryan? I screamed. He jumped up. Bella tried to hide. They both looked like guilty strangers I didn't even know. Ryan stuttered. It's not what it looks like. But it was iskidi what it looked like. My sister and my fiancé. Together. I couldn't speak. My voice broke. My tears came fast and heavy. I fell to the floor, screaming, crying, begging this not to be real. And do you know what hurt most? Bella didn't say sorry. She didn't even look scared. She just stood there, calm, cold, and whispered, "I love him." That moment, that one sentence, it stabbed my heart deeper than any knife ever could. Days passed like a blur. I locked myself in my room, didn't eat, didn't sleep. I kept hearing her voice in my head. I love him. Again and again. My mother begged me to be strong. My friends told me to forget. But how could I? How do you forgive your own sister for taking away the man you were going to marry? How do you erase those memories? The laughs, the dreams, the promises. Then, exactly 7 days later, they posted a photo. Bella and Ryan, engaged. Her wearing my ring. My world stopped again. My hands shook. My breath vanished. But this time, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at that picture, and something inside me changed. The pain turned cold. The tears dried. I promised myself. I would not beg again. I would not fall. I would wait. And one day, Bella would pay for stealing my future. She had taken my love. So, I would take something even greater. I didn't know how or when, but deep inside, I whispered, "One day, you'll call me Mom, and I will smile." Chapter 2: A wedding I wasn't invited to. 2 months passed, and still, I couldn't sleep properly. Some nights I cried, some nights I just stared at the ceiling, remembering how Ryan used to hold my hand, and how Bella used to braid my hair. My heart was still bleeding, but on the outside I smiled. Calm, quiet, unnoticed. They thought I was broken forever, but deep inside me, something cold was growing. I began working harder, dressing better, and speaking less. I stopped asking, "Why me?" and started whispering, "Just wait." I didn't want revenge with fire. I wanted revenge with silence. Then one day, my mother said something that made my hands turn cold. She said, "Bella's wedding is next weekend. You're not going." I froze. My own sister, my own ex-fiancé, getting married. And they didn't even have the courage to invite me. I smiled at my mum and said, "It's okay." But inside, I was screaming. The pain came back, worse than before. She had taken my man, my future, my place at that altar, and now she was getting everything, while I was expected to just move on. But I didn't cry this time. I simply said, "Good, let her enjoy her day before it all changes." That weekend, I saw the wedding photos online. Bella in a white dress, holding Ryan's hand, smiling like a queen. Friends cheering, dancing, calling her the luckiest bride. But I saw something else in that photo. Ryan wasn't smiling like he used to. His eyes weren't glowing. His smile looked fake. I zoomed into his face and whispered, "She won't keep you happy because she took you the wrong way. And Bella? She looked beautiful. But I knew something she didn't. Beauty fades, and karma always remembers." That night, I lit a candle, closed my eyes, and made a decision that would change everything. I started visiting my old piano teacher again, Mr. Charles. He was kind, older, and wealthy. He had lost his wife the year before. He always treated me like his own daughter. But this time, something changed. He saw the sadness in my eyes, the silence in my smile. He asked if I was okay, and I broke down. I told him everything. I cried in front of him like I hadn't cried in weeks. And he listened, patiently, like no one else had. From that day, he called me often, sent flowers, and even took me out for dinner. Slowly, something strange began to grow between us. A few weeks later, Mr. Charles asked me something I never expected. "Would you be open to starting again?" My heart skipped a beat. I looked into his kind, gentle eyes, and I said yes. Not because I wanted love again, but because life had just handed me the most unexpected gift. He wasn't just any man. He was Bella's father-in-law. Yes, the father of Ryan, the man who had betrayed me. And just like that, my path was clear. I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't scream. I would walk into her life again. This time, not as her sister, but as her stepmother. Chapter 3. Broken Heart, Silent Revenge. The news of my engagement spread quickly, but not to everyone. I told only a few. Close friends, trusted people. I wanted Bella to hear it last, and she did. One evening, while I was sipping coffee with Mr. Charles on his balcony, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my cousin. "Did you really get engaged to Ryan's dad? Bella is freaking out." I smiled. Not a fake smile. A real one. The first in months. My silence had finally spoken louder than any scream. Bella had stolen my love. So I gently walked into hers. Not with hate, not with noise, but with grace. That was my silent revenge. Days later, I saw her at a family gathering. She was there with Ryan, her happily ever after. But when she saw me, her face turned pale. She stepped closer, fake smiling, her eyes scanning my ring. "Is it true?" she asked, her voice shaky. I nodded, gently placing my hand on Mr. Charles's arm. "Yes," I whispered. "We're getting married soon." Ryan looked away. Bella blinked fast, clearly trying not to explode. I could feel the storm behind her silence, but I just smiled. "Oh," I added sweetly, "that means, technically, you'll be calling me Mum soon." Her mouth fell open, but I walked away. Calm, proud, untouchable. Behind that smile, though my heart still ached. Every night, I lay in bed asking myself, am I doing the right thing? I didn't love Mr. Charles the way I loved Ryan. But Mr. Charles respected me. He lifted me from the dust. He held my hand when I was broken. I never used him. I cherished him. But yes, deep inside, a part of me wanted Bella to feel the same emptiness she had left me with. I wanted her to taste what betrayal feels like. To live with the fear that I might one day hold her husband's son in my arms, as his stepmother. A few weeks later, I moved into Mr. Charles's house, a beautiful mansion with golden lights and quiet gardens. Everything was peaceful. Until Ryan showed up one evening, alone, nervous. He asked to talk. Mr. Charles trusted me, so he left us on the patio. Ryan looked at me confused, maybe even jealous. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. "To get back at us." I looked at him for a long time, then said, "No, I'm doing this because you thought I couldn't survive without you. But look at me now. I'm not only surviving, I'm rising." He had no words, just silence. After he left, Bella messaged me. It was short. "You're evil." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Revenge doesn't always need noise. Sometimes, the quietest moves echo the loudest. She had hurt me once, deeply. But now, every step I took, every smile I wore, every dinner I shared with Mr. Charles, it all reminded her of one thing. You stole my past, but I became your future. And that was only the beginning. Chapter 4. When Fate handed me her father. Life has a strange way of turning pain into power. I never planned to fall into Bella's world again, especially not as her stepmother. But fate. Oh, fate has a wicked sense of humor. The more time I spent with Mr. Charles, the more peace I found. He was calm, respectful, and soft-spoken. He opened doors for me. He asked how I felt. He made tea when I cried and never judged my silence. For the first time, I felt seen. Not as someone's daughter, not as someone's ex, but as a woman who had been shattered and was now healing. Our wedding was small, simple, and elegant. I wore a sky-blue dress, nothing like Bella's white gown. There were no flowers thrown, no loud music, just warm smiles, close friends, and quiet joy. Mr. Charles looked at me with teary eyes and said, thank you for giving my heart a second chance." And in that moment, I realized I wasn't doing this for revenge anymore. I was doing it for me, to rebuild, to rise, and to finally be loved the way I deserved. Still, somewhere deep inside, I knew my new title would never let Bella sleep peacefully again. And maybe that was enough. After the wedding, things changed quickly. I moved fully into the mansion, now my home. Bella and Ryan had no choice but to visit during family dinners. And every time she walked in, she avoided my eyes. She used to be the star of the room, but now she looked uncomfortable, small, like a guest in her own story. She wouldn't say "Mum," of course, but others did. Mrs. Charles, they said. Stepmother. Lady of the house. I could see the rage hiding behind her lipstick smiles, but I stayed graceful. I smiled gently. I poured her tea. I gave her compliments. And that made her burn even more. Ryan, on the other hand, started acting strange. He barely spoke, often looked lost, distracted. One night, I caught him staring at me for too long. Confused, maybe even regretful, but I didn't react. Let him feel it. Let him remember what he threw away. Bella noticed too. She became jealous, even of her own husband's glances. She started arguments at dinners, snapped at small things. Mr. Charles would hold my hand under the table, silently asking me to stay calm. And I did. Because this was no longer a fight. This was my story now. And they were just side characters in it. Then something unexpected happened. Mr. Charles called a family meeting. He announced that he had changed his will. The mansion, the company shares, and his personal savings, everything would go to me, not Ryan, not Bella, me. The room went silent. I looked at Bella, her eyes wide, her face pale. Ryan stood up, shocked. Mr. Charles simply said, "Because she stood by me when no one did." That night, I cried, not out of pain, but because fate had truly handed me everything she once stole. I didn't steal Bella's life. I just became everything she pretended to be. Chapter 5. She called me Mum, and I smiled. It happened on a rainy Sunday, a day I will never forget. Bella came to the mansion uninvited. Her eyes were swollen, her hair a mess, and her voice shaky. Mr. Charles was out on a business trip, and I was alone, reading in the garden room. She stepped in without knocking, stood silently, then suddenly dropped to her knees. I froze. Bella, the girl who once smiled while breaking me, was now crying at my feet. "Please," she whispered. "Talk to Ryan. He wants to leave me." My breath caught in my throat. The girl who ruined my life, now asking for help to save hers? I didn't speak right away. I just looked at her. She was no longer the shining, proud, arrogant sister I once knew. She looked tired, broken, afraid. "Why me?" I asked softly. "Why come to me?" Bella wiped her tears and looked up. "Because he still looks at you, and you're his stepmom now. Maybe he'll listen." The word stepmom echoed in my ears like a slow drum. It didn't hurt. It satisfied something deep inside. I had become what she never imagined. Her superior. The woman who now had more power than she ever did. Not because I fought for it, but because I rose quietly. I didn't give her an answer. I helped her up, gave her water, and told her to rest. For the first time in years, she listened to me, like a daughter would. Later that evening, as she stood at the door, ready to leave, she turned around. Her voice was low, embarrassed, and full of defeat. "Thank you, Mom," she whispered. My heart stopped. She had said it, not as a joke, not in anger, but naturally. I didn't reply right away. I just smiled. A deep, peaceful smile. The kind that comes not from revenge, but from closure, from watching the storm calm down at your feet. That night, I sat in front of the mirror, thinking about everything. The pain, the betrayal, the loneliness. It had all led me to this moment. I wasn't happy because Bella was hurting. I was happy because I wasn't her anymore. I had outgrown the girl who cried over a cheating man. I had become a woman who built herself again. Stronger, wiser, and calmer. Bella calling me Mum was not a victory over her. It was a crown I placed on my own head, without screaming, without begging, without revenge. She finally saw me, not as her sister, not as her enemy, but as something greater. And strangely, I didn't hate her anymore. I pitied her. She was chasing the love I once cried for, but I had learned. True love doesn't betray. True love doesn't hide in bedrooms behind closed doors. It holds your hand when the world laughs at you. And I had found that. Not just in Mr. Charles, but in myself. Bella had taken Ryan, but fate had given me something far more powerful. Respect, strength, peace. And in the silence of that night, I smiled again. Chapter 6. My victory was never about him. The days that followed were quiet. Beautifully quiet. No more hateful glances from Bella. No more awkward silences at dinner. And no more late-night tears from me. Something had changed. Not in them, but in me. I had finally reached the top of a mountain I never planned to climb. And when I looked down, I didn't see enemies. I saw lessons. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every moment I thought I would collapse. All of it led me here. I didn't win because I hurt them. I won because I healed. I was no longer just the girl who was betrayed. I was the woman they could never break. Ryan tried to speak to me again. A quiet message one night that read, "I'm sorry." But I didn't reply. Not because I hated him, but because I had nothing left to say. He had been a part of my past. A painful chapter I had already closed. I heard from family that their marriage was falling apart. Bella was trying to save it, but Ryan had drifted far away. And I was planning trips with Mr. Charles, planting flowers in the garden, laughing over morning tea, and living in peace. I didn't need anyone's approval anymore. My worth wasn't tied to a ring or a wedding or a man. It was mine. Always had been. The most powerful moment came during a family dinner. Everyone was there. Bella, Ryan, cousins, aunts. The room was full. I walked in, wearing a soft green dress, holding Mr. Charles's hand. Bella stood up, trying to smile. She said, "You look different." I smiled gently and replied, "I feel free." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. In that moment, we both understood. The war was over. There were no winners, just survivors. But I had survived with grace, with dignity, and she was still trying to hold together the pieces of a love she stole, but never truly owned. Later that night, as I walked through the hallway, I passed a mirror. I stopped and looked at myself, not to fix my hair, not to admire my makeup, but to simply see me. For years, I had been bending myself to fit into someone else's world. Now I stood tall in my own. I whispered softly, "You made it." Not because I married someone rich, not because Bella was hurting, but because I had rebuilt my soul with silence, not screams, with kindness, not cruelty. My victory was never about punishing them. It was about choosing me, every single day. And so, the girl who was once broken, forgotten, betrayed, became the woman who rose without noise, not to prove a point, not to win a battle, but to find peace. True, beautiful, lasting peace. Bella had taken what was mine, but fate gave me something far greater, a life where I could breathe again, a heart that beat without fear, and a smile not made of revenge, but made of freedom.